Hello, good evening, and welcome to another edition of U.S. Immigration Report. Tonight, we bring you major headlines of U.S. immigration this week. Donald Trump is once again pushing the Supreme Court to end birthright citizenship in the United States. On Friday, Trump's legal team formally asked the Supreme Court to reconsider the long-standing interpretation of the 14th Amendment. If you're not familiar, the 14th Amendment is what guarantees the right to citizenship. Anyone born on U.S. soil automatically becomes a U.S. citizen, no matter the status of their parents. This is what's known as birthright citizenship, and it's been a pillar of American law since the 1800s. Now, Trump's argument is that this policy encourages illegal immigration and creates incentives for people to cross the border just to have children who become citizens. He's been talking about ending birthright citizenship since his first campaign. But now, with a more conservative Supreme Court, he's making another big push. The legal team is asking the court to take up a case that could overturn or reinterpret that key part of the Constitution. They argue the original intent of the 14th Amendment was never to grant citizenship to children of undocumented immigrants. Most legal scholars disagree. They say the amendment's language is pretty clear. The Supreme Court has never directly ruled on this specific issue. So, why does this matter? If the court takes the case and sides with Trump, it could change who gets to be a citizen in America. Millions born here to non-citizen parents could see their status questioned. And it would have massive ripple effects on immigration, the economy, even voting rights. Opponents say this is another attempt to stir up anti-immigrant sentiment and violates American values. Supporters say it protects the integrity of citizenship and helps control illegal immigration. No matter where you stand, this is a huge constitutional question. The court's decision could reshape the country for generations. So, what happens next? The Supreme Court hasn't said if they'll take the case, but with the current makeup of the court, experts are watching closely. As the federal government enters a shutdown period, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, has publicly pledged that its policies on border security and immigration enforcement will remain intact. In a statement posted early Wednesday on X, ICE sought to dispel widespread rumors that the shutdown would result in relaxed immigration measures. The agency emphasized, there is no change to U.S. immigration laws or border enforcement, adding that border security and enforcement efforts remain strict, and crossing the border without authorization remains a crime. According to plans released by the Department of Homeland Security, a large majority of ICE's workforce is deemed essential and will continue working despite the lapse in federal appropriations. While many non-critical federal services pause, agencies executing core missions, such as law enforcement and border security, are typically exempt from furloughs under contingency plans. ICE's announcement comes amid speculation and social media claims that the shutdown would create loopholes for unauthorized border crossings. The agency strongly refuted those assertions. Meanwhile, DHS leadership affirmed that frontline officers, including ICE agents, would remain on duty, even without pay, for the duration of the shutdown. Under the Government Employee Fair Treatment Act of 2019, those classified as essential will receive retroactive pay once funding is restored. In a sweeping crackdown that underscores the Trump administration's renewed focus on immigration enforcement, federal agents uncovered shocking fraud and abuse in a massive operation across the Minneapolis area. Under the banner of Operation Twin Shield, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS, working hand-in-glove with ICE and the FBI, targeted more than 1,000 suspected cases of marriage and asylum fraud. Agents knocked on doors at over 900 locations, scrutinizing applications and interviewing individuals. Ultimately, 275 cases were flagged for fraud, non-compliance, or national security concerns. In 44 of those instances, immigrants were referred to ICE or issued notices to appear in court. And in 2 instances, detentions were made on the spot. Many others remain under investigation. Among the most brazen examples uncovered, one immigrant had entered into a sham marriage with an elderly American citizen, allegedly subjecting the individual to elder abuse and exploitation. In another case, an immigrant paid $100 for a falsified death certificate from Kenya, seeking to claim their marriage had ended, despite the deceased spouse living in Minneapolis and raising 5 children. A petitioner, after swearing under oath that her marriage was genuine, later confessed hours later that it was a fraud. Even more alarming, one individual who had overstayed a visa waiver turned out to be the son of a suspected terrorist, and had previously been denied benefits due to fraud.
USCIS Director Joseph Edlow described the operation as a turning point. He said, USCIS is declaring an all-out war on immigration fraud. We will relentlessly pursue everyone involved in undermining the integrity of our immigration system and laws. With support from ICE and the FBI, Operation Twin Shield was a tremendous success, and hundreds of bad actors will be held accountable.
The crackdown, which took place between September 19 and September 28, represents the first time USCIS has mobilized so aggressively in a single region, and signals a more muscular enforcement posture going forward. Officials expect that the number of U.S. Immigration and Customs Service (USCIS) referrals, notices to appear, NTAs, and adverse adjudications will climb as investigations expand. The operation aligns with Executive Order 14161, which directs federal agencies to guard the U.S. against foreign terrorists and other threats. Unlike prior administrations, this one is granting USCIS officers new authority to dig deep, vetting applicants more thoroughly and aggressively pursuing fraud wherever it exists. The surge in Minnesota may be just the start. USCIS leadership suggests this enforcement model could be replicated in other parts of the country in coming weeks. U.S. deports planeload of Iranians after reported deal with Tehran. In a development raising diplomatic and humanitarian questions, U.S. authorities have reportedly deported over 100 Iranian nationals to Iran following a negotiated agreement with Tehran, the New York Times first reported. According to Iranian officials, approximately 120 Iranians are being returned first, as part of a broader movement that could include up to 400 individuals. The Washington Post officials say a U.S. chartered flight departed from Louisiana and is expected to transit through Qatar before arriving in Tehran. The identities of those on board remain confidential, but state media in Iran say they include men and women, in some cases couples, many of whom had pending or denied asylum requests. So far, U.S. government agencies have neither publicly confirmed nor denied the reports. A White House spokesperson declined immediate comment, and the Department of Homeland Security has not issued a formal statement. Human rights and refugee protections. Human rights advocates have raised urgent concerns about potential risks facing returnees, particularly those who fled Iran as dissidents, women's rights activists, religious minorities, or LGBTQ+ individuals. Under international law, nations are obligated to ensure non-refoulement, that is, not returning individuals to places where they face persecution or serious harm. This move would mark one of the most direct deportation actions to Iran in recent decades, and it underscores the Trump administration's intensified push to remove undocumented immigrants from the U.S. Despite long-standing diplomatic tensions between Washington and Tehran, Iranian officials maintain that they are cooperating in this instance. Iranian Foreign Ministry official Hossein Nushabadi has said the returnees' consent was obtained, and that Tehran would support its citizens upon their return. U.S. agencies are expected to face questions about whether due process, consular access, and asylum hearings were respected. International bodies and human rights organizations may seek clarity on the safety of those deported. Legal challenges could emerge, especially from advocacy groups arguing for protections under international refugee law. This story remains fluid, and U.S. Immigration Report will continue to monitor developments, seek official comment, and provide updates as more information becomes available.